Hello and welcome back, everybody. You're listening to The Introverted Nerd Watches. I'm Reese, and I'm back for some more of The Gifted. And in this episode, I watched Season 2, Episode 6, iMprint. And I have to admit that the first time I watched this episode, I didn't love it. The Struckers were working my nerves as usual, but the second time around I got more out of it, and I think I actually like this episode. I don't know if I was going to say I like it a lot, but I don't know if I like it a lot. I liked seeing more of the cuckoos. Should I stop calling them the cuckoos? They're the frosts on the show, but they're the cuckoos. So yeah, I like getting more info on the cuckoos. I like that Reeva was back. My girl Reeva. That's always good for me. Reeva and her black lipstick. She's so fine, y'all. Anyway, let me stop being thirsty. And I will say that I like some of the conflict in this episode. Yeah, I just liked that we got more info on some of these people, and that this was another episode of building toward what's happening next, of building toward this sort of inevitable clash between the humans and the mutants. So yeah, we'll get into all of that in a second. But before I get too deep into this stuff, you need to subscribe to the podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts. I don't know why you haven't subscribed yet. If you're listening right now, just click that subscribe button if you're listening on your Apple device. If you are like me and you are living that Android life right now, you can listen on Google Play or Google Podcasts, Stitcher. I'm also available on Spotify and YouTube. I completely forgot about that, but the podcast is on YouTube as well. So if you search for The Introverted Nerd on YouTube, you will find all of my episodes there as well. And you can comment and do your thing there too. So I'm everywhere, you guys. You cannot get away from me. So go wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe, leave me a nice review. And yeah, that would be cute because that's what I deserve. I deserve a review. Any old way, let's get into iMprint. So I like the way this episode starts. We get backstory on the cuckoos. So and not just in this cold open, but all throughout the episode. So we find out that the cuckoos used to be 5. There used to be 5 cuckoos. They are clones. And I wonder who the original is. Like, Esme, I was thinking that Esme might be the original because of, I don't know, Esme just seems to be the more compassionate one right now. So I was thinking that maybe Esme is the original and the other 4 were cloned from her, but they don't really get into it. And maybe that's in the comic books. Maybe it's something like, were they clones in the comic books, or is this something that is made up for the show? It's probably in the comic books. I don't know. I haven't read, X-Men comics there is some wild shit. So I don't know, what's real, I have no idea what's going on in the X-Men comics. I've tried to read the X-Men comics. I have Marvel Unlimited, and it's just best to pick a lane and keep going with it. And I haven't gotten to any cuckoo stuff yet. So anyway, if you've read the X-Men comic, tell me if the cuckoos are clones in the comics. So we find out that they're being used for their, ability to read people's minds and to do all that shit. A doctor in a facility is using 3 of them to try to get information from someone, and then eventually they break out. They turn on their captors, which is like, I feel like you have to be a high key dumbass to try to torture people with telepathy, mutants with telepathy who have the ability to control you. And then maybe this doctor thought that he could get away with it because they're little girls, but I just feel like at some point they were going to break free, and that's what they did. They broke free from their captor. They controlled the minds of the guards that were coming to put the collars back on, and they made the guards shoot this guy. That was some brutal shit. Like watching these guards shoot the guy, and then they made the 3 guards kill each other. What that did, though, was that set off a chain reaction where the 2 sisters that were left behind, and I forget their names, but you can look that shit up. To me, Esme is the only name that has really mattered. I know one of them is Phoebe and Mindy, whatever. Esme is the one that Esme is the one that we see we see her point of view the most. The other 2 are more connected to her. But we see that the other 2 sisters that were left behind got strangled by their collars. So yeah, that's sad. We're 2 cuckoos down and we only have 3 left. They're clones. It's some wild shit. But this is the first idea of how the title of the episode plays into what's happening, because we see in Esme's actions throughout this episode, and maybe even throughout this season, how her past imprinted on her. And I don't know, for some reason I have a feeling that Esme is about to break away from the other cuckoos. And I don't know why I think that, because they're so connected to each other. So I'm wondering, will she break away, or will her reticence to do some of the things that Reeva wants her to do force them to come over to her side? And I don't know I doubt that she's going to be a part of the mutant underground, whether she's going to join the side of the good guys, quote unquote. But I don't think that she's going to be down with the Reeva thing once we figure out the full Reeva plan. So maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe, she did, in order to prove herself to her sisters a few episodes ago, she did have that guy run over by a truck. So, Esme can be about that life when she wants to be. So let's just continue with Reeva and crew, because Reeva came back in this episode from whatever she was doing, and Lorna is not happy. Lorna wants to know the plan. Lorna was kind of frustrated me a little bit in this episode, because Lorna was acting like she was brand new, like she didn't understand what was happening. A few episodes ago, she was telling Andy that how dangerous Reeva is and how he needed to be 100% with her, or he was going to get his ass killed if he was not 100% with Reeva. And in this episode, it feels like Lorna needs to be taking her own advice, because she was giving Reeva some real attitude in this episode. And Reeva, I just feel like Lorna was walking a really fine line with the things that she was saying to Reeva, because she actually at one point just throws down an ultimatum and tells Reeva, if you don't tell me the plan, then I'm out. And Reeva basically called her bluff, because she just basically stared her down, and Lorna stomped off like a petulant child in that moment. But I, I just think that Reeva is really not about that bullshit. And Lorna had a lot of bullshit going on in this episode. So, and not that she was wrong. I'm not even saying that Lorna is wrong for asking for the plan. I just felt like she was being a little like, come on, girl. If you know how dangerous Reeva was, or you knew how dangerous Reeva was when you decided to step over to this side. So like there's no like she's not in an Andy situation where she can plead naivete or immaturity. She's a full-grown adult with a fucking baby right now. So she yeah. And so the whole thing with Lorna, she's asking for the plan, and Esme and the Cuckoos, or basically Esme is the one that Reeva doesn't really have any time for it. Reeva's got other shit going on. Reeva is having like secret meetings with people who we don't see. She's secretly testing with people, somebody named QM, and I have no, like, I don't even have a guess about who that could be. But so Reeva she's in the episode, but she's sort of on the outskirts of everything happening in this episode, because she's got other like secret shit going on. So that's what I'm more interested in. I want to know who QM is, who Reeva is talking to. At one point, Reeva even says that when she's talking on the phone with someone, she says that if anything goes wrong, it's going to be bad for her, but it's going to be even worse for that person. So I want to know, like, does she mean that she's going to like kill that person, or like what's going to happen there? Reeva's got secrets. I want to know all of her secrets. Anyway, back to Lorna. Reeva gives the Cuckoos, and specifically Esme, she lets Esme take the reins, tells her to do whatever she needs to do to get Lorna back on board, because apparently they all know that they need Lorna for this. They need her. So for Esme is just taking a lot of L's lately. So in this episode, her sisters aren't fucking with her. They're mad at her that they always have to dress alike, and they're mad that she has a bruise that from her arm from what Marcos did to her when he burned her, and they're mad that they have to wear like long sleeve they have to wear long sleeve dresses because she can't show her arms, or she doesn't want to show her arm, and they're just giving her a ton of shit. So, they start off this episode sort of pissed at her. Like, how could you let him do this to you? Like, we have to wear last season's clothes because you couldn't protect yourself. It's sad for Esme, but kind of funny that they it's like just wear different clothes, you guys. You can dress differently. It's not like people aren't going to recognize that you're triplets or clones if you're not wearing the exact same outfit. But that's part of their whole appeal is dressing alike. So I'm not mad at them. They're cute. I like they had some really like nice red lipstick on in this episode. They look good in red lipstick. Or I'm saying it's one person. So that woman looks really good in red lipstick. Nobody cares about that. That was just something that I noticed, and I liked her red lipstick. So eventually she goes to talk to Lorna, and she reads baby Dawn's mind, and she makes Dawn, she puts Dawn to sleep, makes Dawn not fussy anymore so that she can talk to Lorna. And they basically have like a yoga mom day. They go out dressed like yoga moms, and Esme tells Lorna the plan, and the plan is to go to this financial institution. It's called Creed Financial, And Cree Financial is the place that Reeva is targeting. And it's a place that has been secretly funding purifier groups. It has created this mutant ID technology, and it's the place that funded the lab that created the cuckoos. They've also been they also had mutant slaves back in the day. So this is like a Cree Financial bad place. So it's of course the place that Reeva wants to attack. Now I'm not completely sure that this is the entire plan to attack Cree Financials, because I'm not even completely sure that the cuckoos know Reeva's entire plan. Because Reeva tells them that, she tells people what they need to know. Basically everything with Reeva is on a need to know basis. So the cuckoos know more than Lorna, but I don't think the cuckoos know everything that Reeva knows. As a matter of fact, I am almost positive that they don't know everything that Reeva knows. So yeah, so Esme is able to connect with Lorna, and everything is going good until they start going back, and Esme starts humming the lullaby that Lorna was singing to Dawn. And she tries to say like, hey, it's probably just something that got stuck in my head. Lorna is having none of that bullshit. Everything that Esme did that day with Lorna, any connection they had, is completely broken in that point. And Lorna tries to strangle her. She basically tells her, you stay the fuck away from me, stay away from my kid. She figures out that Esme was in her daughter's head. And she's just having none of it. And Reeva has to come back, and she has to regulate. She has to, she has to save Esme, because Lorna was about to just strangle the shit out of her. And this is when Lorna tells Reeva, all of you have stay away from me. And she's I don't know what she planned to do after that, but she goes back to her room and she just wants everybody else to stay away from her, specifically the cuckoos, because I don't know how she hasn't been thinking this for a while, but they can control you with their minds. I don't understand. It's almost like this is the first time that Lorna realized this could happen, even though Marcos was saying that, this could be a thing. And to be clear, I don't think that they've been controlling Lorna. As a matter of fact, the cuckoos argued in the episode about the fact that they wanted, or at least the non-Esme ones wanted to just go in and, control Lorna's mind. And that's when Esme convinces them that, no, basically she tells them we have to win, or she tells Reeva, we have to win hearts and minds. We can't just go around mind controlling people. We can't do that forever. We have to get people on our side in another way. And Reeva wasn't really going for it. The other cuckoos aren't really happy about that. They're not really happy with the softer side of Esme. But I am. I like this. I like Esme, like this more conflicted Esme. Like, she's going along with Reeva's plan. I believe she really believes in what Reeva wants to do, but I don't think she wants to go about it in these methods. I think she was telling the truth when she says we need to convince people in another way. We don't always have to use our powers here. We can use our words to convince people that we're on the right side of things. We'll see how far that goes and how much everybody else buys into that, specifically the inner circle, because the cuckoos, I think, have done a little too much to get anybody in the underground to trust them right now. But Esme is I like Esme. So and she eventually does. She goes back and she talks to Lorna and she apologizes for being in Dawn's head. and she explains the situation to her about the clones and how she felt her sisters die as if it was her. So, and she doesn't want that for Dawn. And Lorna, that brought out a tear from Lorna. So I think she believes what Esme said, and we're going to have it's going to be a little smoother going forward. What else is going on? Let's go to the underground. No, the Struckers. I want to talk about the Struckers first. Okay. So this is where I really get frustrated. Usually. The first time I watched this episode, and it's probably because I was live tweeting, ton of shit going on. So maybe that's why I was just so, like, everything that Caitlin and Reed did, I was just like, somebody kill her. I was just hoping John would punch Reed in the throat. I was just so, like, done with them. So, but watching the second time, I'm much more generous. And I was paying closer attention. I have a lot more sympathy for Reed specifically. Caitlin, I'm like, I got problems with her. But Reed is going through some shit. Reed has basically regressed. He's become Andy. Is the only way I can put it. He is going through his mutant puberty right now. He can't, his powers have just come about. He's going through a ton of shit. And I have just more sympathy for the things that he's experiencing, and the way I'm less upset about the way he's dealing with it, because I understand this is the other place where the imprint of how he grew up, of the things his father did to him. This is the other place that it shows up, how his father imprinted on him is why he's behaving the way that he is now. And the way he's behaving is somebody who doesn't want to deal with his powers, is not even willing to admit that his powers are out of control. He doesn't want to learn how to control his powers. Side note, just stop here. I'm going to stop this here for 1 second and say that The Gifted and Black Lightning have a ton in common right now, because they even have some of the characters have the same names. There's a Dr. Jace. There's a Jace on Black Lightning, just like there is on this show. Reed is having almost the same problems as Jennifer on Black Lightning. Somebody that doesn't want their powers, who doesn't want to deal with their powers. So two shows that I'm watching, a lot of the same things happening in the two shows. So that's why it's always hard, specifically with Black Lightning. I always make the mistake of calling people on that show mutants and everything. So if you're a Black Lightning listener as well, just know that this is the reason why that this show, these two shows are so, like, things that are happening on these two shows are so intertwined that sometimes I can't separate, but I'm going to continue to try. Back to Reed. John is trying to help him learn how to use his powers. He's telling him that he has to deal with the emotion of what happened to him first in order to be able to control his powers. And Reed is just unwilling to engage with this. He's like, I don't have any problems. I can control my emotions. Like, this is not a problem for me. And it's like, really, dude? And John is like reminding him, like, yo, you disintegrated your steering wheel while you were driving your daughter, while you were trying to drive your daughter away from a dangerous situation. You're not in control. And so Reed just doesn't want to deal with it. He talks to Caitlin. He talks to Caitlin earlier in the episode about it, and he's telling her, like, she's telling him, you need John. You need John to teach you to use your powers, because he's been taking anti-anxiety medication to try to control his emotional outbursts, but that's starting to wear off. That's not really working right now. So he has to do the work. And I think that he feels that if he goes into this place where he doesn't want to go back into his past. I believe he's experiencing PTSD. Just, he can't deal with it. With the things that his father did to him, he just doesn't want to go back to that place. I completely understand that. But it doesn't. He has to do it. There's no getting around it. John explains to him, like, yo, you can't, there is no shortcut for this. This is what you have to experience. It's like, sorry that this is what your father did to you. Your father robbed you of the time that you needed to do this, but you're here now and you have to do this now. So yeah. And by the end of the episode, Reed is just all fucked up. He, once the underground, the things that happen with the underground, Jace and all that is intertwined. They have, who is it? What's his name? Shatter. Shatter calls them and tells them that there's been a bombing at a church where they had, some of the people, from last week, some of the refugees from last week, the mutant refugees. And they brought them to this other place with Shatter, who really looks good. Like, I like his makeup. I don't remember, like, I believe he was in the first season. I don't remember him that much from the first season. I don't think he did very much in the first season. But his makeup, he looked really good in this episode. Like, the eye, his like milky eye, and his, he looked really cool. I'm so sad that he died because he just looked cool. I just wanted him to be there so that, to have a cool looking mutant, that wasn't a part of the, Erg's group. I can't even, sorry. I'm blanking on the Morlocks. Yeah. Who's not to have a mutant that is like has a physical manifestation of their powers, not be part of the Morlocks. So I like that. But oh well, he died. Too bad, so sad. Anyway, Shatter calls them over. They need their help to get out of there. And they eventually find out that it's all a setup by the purifiers. They did the bombing to basically force the underground out, and so that they could force them together so that they could why am I stuttering? So they could capture all of them together, Jace and the rest of the purifiers. And eventually Reed uses his powers to try to get them out of that situation. It works, but he ends the episode sort of his powers are just sort of uncontrollable. You go back to their apartment and you see that he basically he's melted the bed. He's just melting everything all over the place, and he can't control his powers. And so he's sort of balled up in the corner, not wanting anybody to get near him. So I can't wait to see how they're going to deal with that next week. So on to Lauren and Caitlin, because Caitlin still frustrates me. I'm being so generous because I'm continuing to give her chances. She and Lauren, or basically Caitlin, decides that she wants to go to see the psychiatrist that worked at the institution, because they want to find out information about Rebecca. They want to find out why Reeva wanted Rebecca, since Rebecca is with Andy now. So they realize how dangerous Rebecca is. They need to talk to this psychiatrist. And Lauren ends up going with her. And Caitlin says a lot of the right things. She tells Lauren that she would never choose Andy over Lauren's safety, and that she apologizes. And it's like, all right, Caitlin, I'm side-eyeing her, but I'm like, okay, you're saying a lot of the right things. But actions speak louder than words with her. I cannot believe a word that she says. I need her to start living up to the things that she's saying, because you were willing to let your daughter go out just a couple episodes ago to find your son. So you were willing to choose, you were willing to put her in harm's way, just for the chance that she might be able to bring Andy back to you. So, whatever, Caitlin. So they go to see the psychiatrist, and Caitlin's such a bad liar. So they tell the psychiatrist, we wanted to talk to you about Rebecca because we're her cousins, and we're just a little concerned that we have, the mutant gene in our family now. We just need to know, like, why she was there. And the doctor sees, like, right through this, and she runs out of there and she tries to make a phone call. Fortunately for everybody, Lauren is also a strucker, and she's the smartest strucker. So she recognizes that, something ain't right, and she stops the doctor from calling for help. And Lauren gets kind of hardcore here, because she starts getting really upset with that doctor, because we saw how they were torturing people, how they were holding mutants there at that institution against their will. And Lauren was starting to get really pissed about that. And Caitlin, I'm going to give her credit. She steps up and she, talks to the doctor. And this is when we see that Rebecca, if you didn't know already, like I said last week, Rebecca is kind of fucked up anyway. Like, beyond this whole being, like, she was tortured. What happened to her at that institution was wrong, but she had problems before that. We find out that she killed when we already knew that she couldn't have the collar, just wouldn't work on her, because she could always turn them inside out. We see her basically turning, I don't know, like, hospital staff. She was turning them inside out, killing them that way. And that is the same thing she did to her family. And that's how the doctor knew that they weren't actually relatives of Rebecca's, because that's how she killed all of her family. She turned all of her family inside out. So Rebecca's fucked up. Andy, you in danger. Like, Rebecca is real fucked up. So, she's scary as shit. And, like, Andy, and you see Rebecca and Andy, like, having fun in this episode, being like cutesy teenagers. But watching, like, once you see this doctor, like, break down crying, like, scared, and you see what she did to the people at the hospital, it's like, oh shit. Like, Andy is really in danger. And he thinks that he's been going through some shit. Like I said last week, like, Andy thinks that he's had it tough. Rebecca she's just on a whole nother level. And you shouldn't be out here comparing, like, who's had it worse and whose problems are worse. Like, she has, like, real serious mental health issues. Andy needs to talk to a counselor. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Rebecca, because she's going to really hurt somebody. And I wonder who it's going to be, because it has to be Andy has to see her do something really, like, fucked up for him to get it in his head that you know, she can't just be his cute like mutant girlfriend, and they can't go around terror, like they can't be the cute mutant Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. We also find out that Andy and Lauren are sharing dreams again. But they realize it now, and the dream was sort of like Andy is trying to recruit Lauren. And I think you kind of see that it might be working a little bit. I'm not sure. So they speak in this dream. In the dream, they meet in the training room where Andy and the underground are. And he explains to Lauren that he's sorry that she got hurt, but she should stay out of his way. And so yeah, it's interesting that, and Lauren realizes that it's real, that it's actually them communicating with each other. And we only see this from Lauren's side, so I don't know how Andy is dealing with this. Maybe we'll see it next week. But we see Lauren touch something and it cuts her hand, and she wakes up and her hand is still cut. So she knows that it's real. It's basically a Nightmare on Elm Street, the Gifted style. Like those moments in A Nightmare on Elm Street where people figure out that they can pull things out of the dream, like Freddy's hat or Freddy Krueger at a certain point. Yeah, so that's basically what she's going through. And at the end of the episode, Lauren tells Caitlin that she believes that she might have to fight Andy and bring him back herself. So we're coming to a showdown between the Struckers. But Lauren does make it clear that she tells her mom, she tells Caitlin that she thinks that Andy might not be wrong. So, how far would a fight go? Like how much conviction does she have behind that the idea that she might have to fight Andy? Or can she, the more that they interact in these dreams, can she be swayed to the other side? Now, I don't think that she would turn on her parents the way that Andy has, but I don't know. They're going through this whole thing where they keep talking, where Lauren keeps saying that they're connected and they need to be together. So, who knows? So Jace and the Underground we'll talk about together. So Jace has really fucked things up. He is playing a really dangerous game trying to control these purifiers, and I don't think it's going to work out. And it does, even in this episode, it doesn't work out the way that he wants it to, because he's at a meeting with the purifiers trying to talk about what their next move is going to be, and he is leading them to what he said he was going to do last week. He was getting to them where they live. So that's why the bombing came in that they did to draw them out. And he keeps trying to emphasize the fact that the mutants are the terrorists and the purifiers are the good guys. And he keeps trying to make them, part of it is I think he's trying to make them understand that, like, he wants them to buy into the rhetoric, but he also is trying to convince himself that he's not just getting involved with a terrorist group. But even though these people are terrible. Like, one guy is there with a 50 caliber rifle, just sitting at the meeting with a gun, with that 50 caliber rifle, like trying to, incite get everybody excited to go kill these mutants. And Jace is trying to take it down a notch. And they do, thankfully, last week I thought that he was just going to become the leader, but thankfully they do have people there questioning, how are you going to come in here and tell us what to do? You're not the leader here. So I was like thankful for that, because I just thought that they were going to be happy with him and they were just going to say, oh, yay, lead us, we'll follow you. But they don't just blindly follow him, which is a good thing. But unfortunately for the mutants, Jace has the ear of the actual leader of the purifiers. And he believes in that Jace life. He believes in what Jace says. He believes that Jace has the right idea about how to do things. So he's willing to follow him. And they eventually they go to the hideout and where the mutants are. And I really hate Jace in this moment. So he's trying to have it both ways. He's with a vigilante group, but he's trying to use his sort of law enforcement tactics to try to get the mutants to come out. He wants to just arrest them. And even the cop guy that's on his side is telling him like, yo, we got a bunch of people here with itchy trigger fingers. Like, we got to do more than just talk. And it's like, of course, Jace, you are not dealing with people who are trained in this kind of thing. You're dealing with just regular old folks that hate mutants, and they're these are terrorists as well. Like, as much as you want to call mutants terrorists, you're dealing with terrorists. You're trying to control a group of terrorists. And you're going to have a rough time doing that. He ends up throwing these like smoke grenades into the building. That makes it hard that makes a bunch of them pass out, including Blink. So she can't teleport them out of there, or not teleport, but she can't open a gateway for them to run out of there to safety. What ends up happening is that Marcos is completely useless. He stands there. He shoots out one like beam of light at the purifiers, and then he just stops. So that Shatter has to run outside. And they gave us like, this was so choreographed that he was going to die. He tells them, before he runs out, he tells them, I'm going to run out there. I'm going to be a distraction. You just get everybody out of here. And he runs out. And just so you know, when he dies after getting shot, so he tells them like, hey, I can take it. Small caliber bullets don't do anything to me. Unfortunately, there's a guy out there. Remember the guy with the 50 caliber shotgun? Not a small caliber. I mean, I don't know shit about guns, but I'm guessing a 50 caliber bullet is not the same as just your regular handgun. And he gets shot by that and he dies. So yeah. So Shatter dies, and the only thing he really does in this episode is he talks to Reed, and he's the one that tells Reed that about how he tried to kill himself when his powers first manifested. He said he went to bed as a regular kid, and then he woke up looking like Shatter, and he tried to kill himself. And that's like the Shatter mark on the side of his head. That's where it comes from. He tried to shoot himself in the head and it didn't work. So he tells Reed that trying to the more you reject things you can't face, the worse you make it. So he's going to be Reed's motivation, which I kind of don't like, that the black character is there just to help Reed learn a lesson and then has to die in this episode. I mean, aside from the fact that he just looks cool. He's a cool looking character. Like, why couldn't Shatter be a thing? Shatter also, before he dies, kills one of the purifiers and completely turns him to stone. Which looked really cool. But we find out on the news that later in the episode, after they, our regular mutants escape, they're all safe. The purifiers capture some of the others, and when Jace and the cop purifier guy talk at the end of the episode, the cop is like, is basically telling Jace like, yo, this was a great thing that happened. And Jace basically gets validated because he tells him Jace is carrying around a piece of Shatter. Like when Shatter died, all of his blood sort of turned to the black stone, and Jace is carrying around a piece of that. And the cop dude tells him, the piece of that guy you're carrying around, that is what proves that you were telling the truth. Like Jace is completely validated in this moment. He tells him like that guy was supposed to have died in Atlanta. So now everybody knows that you were right, that you weren't just being a crazy person that was obsessed with this. You were actually right. And thankfully, I guess, Jace is not happy about this. But the purifier guy tells him like, hey, you're one of us now. And that makes Jace even more unhappy. He's like, oh shit. It's just like, he didn't want to be a part of this group. He wanted to use these people. Unfortunately, he's in deeper than he meant to be, because he's actually the one that shoots Shatter, with that shotgun. So he kills Shatter. He tells them he tells them when they first got there that he didn't want to kill anybody. So it's like, sorry, Jace, and even the guy tells him it was unrealistic to believe that nobody was going to get hurt. Nobody was going to die. Like, you were being naive, or you let yourself be naive to this. So, you're getting what you deserve. You're getting what you deserve at this moment. You're a purifier now, Jace. Accept that shit. So yeah, that is the end of the episode. It was pretty good, right? Like, I enjoyed it. Second time around, I really enjoyed it. What I do want to know is if I want to know the most interesting things to me to come out of this right now are, who is the QM that Reeva is texting, and which way is Jace going to go? Like, is he going to continue down this purifier road? Because that leads to death. He keeps saying, and I believe that he does not want to kill these people. But this is where it leads. Like, these people, the purifiers want to kill and maim mutants. You can't control that. So I want to know if killing Shatter is going to force him to rethink things, or if he's just going to continue down this road. Because we saw what happened when he was a rookie and his partner tased that mutant and he arrested them. Like, he continued into law enforcement. So will he do that again, or is he going to make an about face? Yeah, who knows? So I got comments from my YouTube channel. So like I said earlier, subscribe to my YouTube channel and, comment and do all that stuff. So, where is it? Alexander Platypus from YouTube had some comments on back episodes. So, I have to see which comment. No. Oh, so they have okay, so I was reading their comment, and they really believe in the Reeva way. They think Reeva is the good guy. And so I don't know if this is the first comment. Which episode was this that they commented on? Oh, this is from episode 2 that they commented on. Alexander Platypus commented on. And they said they like how excited, how hype I get for Reeva, and that I'm one of the only fans that that ever actually try to comprehend Reeva's thought process, which is, I don't know, like how could people like ignore why Reeva is doing what she's doing? I mean, that's important to know why she's doing what she's doing. Now, as much as I love Reeva, I do think that what she's doing is going to lead to a lot more violence and death. I do understand where she's coming from. And as a Black person, I also understand how tempting it could be to go over to that side of things, of just wanting to completely eliminate people who are standing in the way of your freedom. So yeah, they think that Reeva gets a bad rap, and I do too, of course. Reeva is my goddess, and of course she gets her bad rap. Okay, here it is. Here's the one that so they say the only thing they feel like the inner circle is doing the right thing. Let me just read it verbatim. My only thing is that I feel like the inner circle are really doing pretty much the good / heroic things. So I don't understand how we in the audience are meant to support the underground, just instinctively reacting against them always. Like they literally say in this episode, Blink says in this episode, they have no idea what the inner circle is even doing, but they know they need to stop them. Like, what? Huh? It makes no sense. And then to top off my antipathy for Marcos from the previous episode, he was about to try to blow up the vehicle containing both Andy and even Lorna. There is absolutely no way anyone can excuse that. It's so much worse than even what Caitlyn did this episode with the torturing of a mutant. The irony of Marcos kidnapping a mutant the same way he had to wear a bag over his head in the previous episode, except the Cuckoos let him choose that. So he is worse than them. I just don't understand how can people root for Marcos and think he is a good dad and wants to just be with his ex again. He was about to try to kill her and he doesn't even really know why. I'm sorry, I'm just beyond done with both Marcos and Caitlyn. Blink and Lauren are the only underground members I have any interest in now. John is just okay. Reed, I'm not sure yet, but yeah. And Andy defended his team. What was he supposed to do there? Just give up, surrender? I mean, if he doesn't surrender, he is pure evil to some people, I guess. He had no choice but to fight back. Marcos and Lauren ambushed them. Sigh. The biases among so many of the pro underground fans gets to me, I swear. So Alexander Platypus was talking about season 2, episode 4, Outmatched. And while I have never seen anybody consider the inner circle good or heroic. So that's new. I don't think I consider them bad. I think some of their methods can be bad, and some of the things that they're doing can really tip over into like villain territory, and be just give them the opposite of what they want. Be more destructive than they claim that they want to be. I understand why they all feel the way that they do. And as far as Marcos is concerned, I don't know. I didn't think that Marcos would ever really blow up that vehicle. But if you did, then that's, I mean, I understand why you feel the way you do. If you really believe that, that he was actually going to blow them up. I never felt like he was going to blow them up. I felt like he was, trying to call their bluff and they would have just run him over or something. But, yeah. And as far as Andy is concerned, this is what I expect from Andy. Like, I didn't expect him. I mean, I guess you can be, if you're on the side of the underground, you can be mad at Andy and not even for going against the underground, because Andy doesn't really have any connection with anybody else in the underground except his family. He has no loyalty to anybody outside of his family. So I completely understand people being mad at Andy for attacking Lauren specifically. Marcos just really didn't matter in that moment. Attacking Lauren, like attacking your sister, who was the one person who was really on your side before, I can side eye him for that. But I completely get where, he was coming from. And I agree with you about, if you've been listening to this podcast, I agree with you about your, just dislike of Caitlyn and even Marcos. Like, Marcos, I find really to be, I felt like he was really condescending to the Morlocks and just really looking down his nose to them. And I didn't like that. He's really annoying to me. John, meh. I like John. I'm a Thunder Blink fan. I'm a shipper that way, so I like them together. But, he hasn't been that interesting in this in this season either. So, yeah, he's whatever. Anyway, those were the thoughts of Alexander Platypus from YouTube. You can go talk to them and comment what you think about what they said. So, yeah, keep commenting, people. Send me emails. You can send your feedback if you don't want to comment on the YouTube page or anything like that. You can send your feedback to theintrovertednerd@gmail.com. You can also follow me on the socials. I'm on Twitter @NerdTrovertPod, on Instagram @TheIntrovertedNerd, and go to Facebook and like the Facebook page at facebook.com/TheIntrovertedNerd. And we will talk, or I will talk to you again about The Gifted next week. So later, Gators.